All right, Chris in Missouri's got an NFL question.
I had a question. Okay, so a year ago, the NFL was looking into the Washington Redskins for, I guess, taking pictures of cheerleaders naked. And somehow during the course of that, they ended up with emails that got, what's his name from Oakland fired. But yet
Gruden.
He got fired immediately, and I didn't see anything happening to Washington. I mean, how is that fair? He looks like a fall guy.
Well, they're under – it's a great question because we always want to know how come Washington doesn't get hammered more. They did get fined.
Well,
they had a huge investigation. I don't know how much of that's ever going to hit, but they're under the microscope even now. Their owner's been, I guess.
To try to at least step into the circle of understanding, Chris, the first thing you need to stop doing is assume that anything that happens to billionaires is fair compared to anybody else. It's not fair. It's not. It's not. So Daniel Snyder has rigged the game. And the NFL has rigged the game because the last thing they really want, and we had a woman named Megan Imbert on the show a few months back who is leading the charge to release the report because she used to work there. There's other people that work there that the culture was toxic and a lot of sexual harassment went on. And taking pictures of the cheerleaders was actually the Cowboys and Rich Dalrymple. What they were doing was sending the cheerleaders on trips and then trying to tell some of their big investors and advertisers, like, yeah, you can have a go.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington was. Yes. That's what Washington was doing. All this stuff under other just what you would call, normal, which is not normal, but textbook office sexual harassment where women were treated badly. The NFL has not released this whole report that was out there. They released parts of it where Bruce Allen, who doesn't work for Washington anymore, and John Gruden got lumped in. And part of that, a lot of people think was, okay, there was something found in this, but that had nothing to do with anything. And, it's because the NFL would have to answer a question and it would maybe set off some dominoes if the owner of one of our franchises is an absolute creep and is running a dumpster fire of an organization, what do we have to do? I don't think they're ready to go the route of Donald Sterling and the Clippers did in the NBA and push him out, because then that would make them admit that there are weaknesses in the armor, and as opposed to just doing the right thing.
The bottom line is if they go after Daniel Snyder, all of them are going to be under the same investigation. Yeah. Right? They all going to have to take off their sheets.
Well, I mean,
behind the curtain.
That's kind of a good metaphor for Robert Kraft anyway. But Robert Kraft had that thing. The Cowboys have their thing. I mean, who knows? Who knows what the Seahawks are doing? And I'm just throwing that out there because you don't know. And they would
basically. You need to root for John Gruden to get his way in this, lawsuit and everything he's trying to do to fight back, so that we can see some discovery and so that we can see some of these documents. Because the NFL, just very convenient on their part, has 600+ thousand emails, and the only parts we've ever seen are the ones that pertain to John Gruden.
Yeah, it really was.
So, basically, you need to be Team John Gruden in terms of if you want the NFL to have to actually rip some masks off and maybe progress down a lane where they're not protecting their self-interest, that's just the NFL in a nutshell, then you need to root for John Gruden, basically, and his side in legal battles to try and open up some of these locked doors. But they're locked firmly and tightly, and the NFL is going to protect the shield. Which is great for all of the billionaire owners, but not so much for women or, for many other people involved. Or John Gruden, who said some dumb stuff, and there's no doubt about that, but he absolutely was a scapegoat in this whole thing. Absolutely. Don't look over here at all of our owners that are doing stuff that's really bad. Look over at this coach who said bad words and was racist. And, two wrongs don't make a right, but I definitely think the NFL is way more wrong than they've ever been exposed for.
So we get mad at Levi, so we fire Jack. That's kind of what happened. Jack's not here. We can bring him up. Isn't Kevin Warren the same guy that pulled the wool over the ACC and Pac-12? So why is it a given the further expansion rumors are true? Damn shame that the majority of college athletics is letting the Big Ten hold them hostage.
Well, he's not he's not lying about expansion. I mean, he's not doing what he did, and he's not pretending it's something else. I mean, you just have to listen to the way the dominoes have fallen. Why would he say they're I mean, he's not said they're not going to expand. He's not said they're going to expand. He's just saying he's open to it because he's not committing to anything right now. With the Pac-12 and ACC and pulling the wool over their eyes, I mean, that was kind of an easier thing to do. But he's not going to say, yeah, we want 4 more teams, and these are the 4 teams I like, because then he's showing his hand.
Mark 324, Gruden is not innocent. Well,
I just said that. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
He said racist stuff. I touched on all of that, and I'm not saying that Gruden's right. But if you want the NFL to have their mask ripped off, then you have to, in a way, root for John Gruden. That's just what I said, to win, his legal battles against the NFL, to try and get some discovery and try to rip some of those masks off and try and open those locked doors that the NFL's kept so securely tight. So, yeah, never said that he was right in any way, but it's very clear he was made a scapegoat. And if you don't think that, then I don't know what to tell you, because it's pretty clear, I think, from any view, that how convenient only his emails are the ones that we've seen, and all of these other emails, 600,000 emails, the only thing they could find was just John Gruden saying some bad stuff. Nothing on Daniel Snyder.
And Adam Schefter being a shill.
Oh, and Adam Schefter's the biggest shill in all of NFL coverage. I think that's become very clear. And look, I don't know the guy from Adam, but that's very clear. His copy and pasting from agents' texts that he receives, that's now happened on at least 2 occasions I can think of over the last year. Yeah, so... Gruden's going to have to fight that's what I think the NFL's probably banking on to some extent, is like, he's the bad guy now. So there's not going to be a lot of people that probably look past what he said and think that he's got some merit or some case against the NFL, but he does, I believe, and the longer they can make this battle last in court, I think the more that maybe we see some of that, of what the NFL's been trying to keep privy of it only to their own eyes. Maybe that's how we see some of that. Or they just have the greatest lawyers in the world and it remains as is, and Gruden's a pariah and gets, shuttled away, and the NFL keeps going about its business with all their dirty secrets behind closed doors.
Some of it response to Gruden. He also blocked the NFL owner's attempt to get Brady and Frock to Las Vegas.
Probably Gronk.
Yeah. All from Mark, billionaires protect billionaires. We mentioned that.
Yeah,
wickedness
that's
in high places,
line,
nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
What I would be concerned about if I'm the NFL is that you can only keep things behind the wall for so long, even though how powerful you are. I'll just give you the example of FIFA. There was no more powerful world organization of sports than FIFA, and eventually the wrong guy was in charge, and Sepp Blatter and everything corrupt that they were doing came to a head and fell down. So it would maybe behoove them to have some sacrificial lambs to keep the wolves off the gates. At the end of the day, they're protecting all their own, but I wonder if the other 31 just finally say, Snyder, you got to sell the team and figure out a way to do this so that we can be out of this, because
otherwise we all go down.
Yeah. Well, it really makes you wonder, why are they protecting him as much as they are? Yeah. What could there possibly be to feel like, because if it was just, okay, and I know there's contracts and stuff that come into play, but so it's a bit more complicated than just what you would like to do. But just on the surface, if I was Roger Goodell and I had free reign, which of course he does not, but Daniel Snyder would have been out there months ago. He would have been out of my league months and months ago. Just for the sake of he's just a rotten part now. No matter what may or may not, he's just a rotten piece of the NFL apple, in my opinion, right now. And I don't see any reason to really back the guy, but they are.
Yeah.
And so it makes me wonder what the hell is so important about Daniel Snyder in their eyes.
The bottom line is, if you protect the shield, he needs to go, because he's done. What has he brought? Not that they haven't done some things great, but charity and all that. But what has he done? What is the one mark that Daniel Snyder's ever done to raise the level of the national football?
Has the team gotten better or won anything since he's bought it? Okay.
Not even close.
Is the stadium somewhere that you could sit in the stands and feel safely about not falling down?
I'm not sure when. The Cowboys have a beautiful place, and they had the issue in the Super Bowl. The FedEx Field was ahead of its time, but now that was many years ago. I don't know if he was the owner when that was built, because it was at RFK, which was a terrible place, but an amazing place to watch and cover a football.
To Paul's point, it's a dump. They're trying to get a new stadium, but and they're in the process of that right now. But why do they deserve a new stadium?
But they're not going to get one of him as owner.
Why do they deserve it?
Yeah.
Even the taxpayer, why am I paying for your crappy football franchise that you basically run into the ground over and over and over again so that you can just be valued at more money? Because that's all that he's basically doing at this point. He's not putting a contender out there.
No.
He's not making great football decisions. He's not hiring great football minds. He's just going through the motions and watching the value rise because that's just the nature of years passing by. So, yeah, get a new stadium, fill it with a crappy team that won't contend for anything except for, every few years or so, give people false hope, and then be bad the majority of the time until it's time for another stadium, and then you'll be worth $2.3 billion. But, he's raised the value, but anybody could have done that, I think, at this point. So, yeah, I don't see the appeal of the guy or why he's so important, but it is very interesting that there has been this shroud of secrecy surrounding him, whereas we can just look at Gruden's text messages and it's like, whatever.
Well, at least, just comparing it to other teams that have been crap for a long time, at least the Lions have decency to have their only problem be their personnel department. I mean, the stadium's beautiful. And they're in a city that's a dying market in Detroit, and they're still fighting to do but
Daniel Snyder became the owner from the Jack Kent Cook estate, who was an amazing owner of the Lakers and then the Washington football team, the franchise known as the Redskins, used to be known. They opened up FedEx Field around 2004. He bought the team in 1999.
Yeah.
It was at the time the largest seating capacity in the NFL, over 91,000. Its capacity now is around 82,000. You wonder how much of those or how many of those seats were picked up or changed because of suites that they've added, and still the rich and famous get to go. Bottom line with Daniel Snyder, great question, Chris. Appreciate the call. There's something stinks, no question at all about it. Why he's still there? I'm a lifelong Washington fan. It's sickening how bad they've been, how just putrid they've been, and also they're a joke of a franchise in many, many ways as well. All right, we'll have John Machota in a little bit.